Kyle here, Odys Mentor. This is my growth blueprint for sciencegist.net. So as you can see, I'm going to be walking you through, going a little bit of hopefully above and beyond, hopefully giving some unique insight of the direction that I would take this particular website if I was to try and grow it myself. So I'm going to give you some insights into the actual backlink profile, some about the community, who the competitors are, some of the competitors, what are the advantages, and at the end I'll cover maybe some drawbacks as well. But basically, why I picked this domain. So I do love the fact that it's very targeted. I think this helps a lot having, if you're going to make a neat, to help stand out, I mean, having big authority sites is great, but for starting, having it so specific about science, I think is a huge advantage. And if you actually scroll down, everything about it is very relevant to science. So as you can see, it was an old science website. You could scroll through the way back screenshots there. Another reason why, obviously, is the backlink profile when acquiring an age domain. Basically, that's the main reason, essentially. Not only does it have the age, great name, but on top of that, the real advantage here is the actual backlink profile. So I made a note here, basically it's DR29 with 154 referring domains, but the key thing that separates this website from a lot of the other ones that I found related to science is the actual quality of the backlinks. So basically, if I open up Ahrefs here, you can see referring domains. So I just filtered through do follow, right? Just to take this one step further, you have close to 100 do follow referring domains, but the actual qualities were really what I'm looking at here. So you have links from nature.com, DR92, 6.9 million traffic, very low outbound links, obviously very much on brand. And if we actually open up and look at the context of the link, I mean, obviously you're going to imagine that it's a science domain, it's probably very relevant, but if you actually look at the actual context of where the links are placed, not only are you getting the authority, right, that from the high DR sites, but also there's extreme relevance there. So everything, the whole context of the links is very relevant to science. So it's hyper relevant. So it's not only high DR, but very relevant as well, right? So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone here. On top of that, you have science.org, obviously super relevant science. Again, DR91, right, 1.2 million traffic, and so on. There's many more on top of that, right? Metro.co.uk, again, 6.4 million traffic, DR89, and so on. So phenomenal backlink profile, in my opinion. This is much more than if you were to be doing some niche research and you were to see other competitors that are just doing your standard outreach, and they've managed to get their site to say a comparable DR29, which is what this site is about DR29, right? This is going to be much stronger, right? Just because the actual backlink profile, the quality of the backlink. So this DR29 is much different than another DR29 that you're going to be seeing, which has not acquired backlinks the same way. If they're just doing the typical outreach and building their backlink profile that way, it's not going to compare. So that's a huge advantage, I would say. Especially getting the science niche. So moving on from there, what I like to do is just kind of peek around the overall community, see how many people are kind of interested. My first stop always when doing some niche research is just checking out Reddit. So if you go check out Reddit, you can go through even more threads, but just to kind of give you some perspective, our chemistry has 2 million members. So obviously there's quite a bit of people that are interested in there. And then on top of that, you kind of have a side niche, which is the actual STEM field. So STEM is, I'm interested in it. I have a newborn child. I think that this is a phenomenal field to get into. So I'm definitely going to be, my son is newborn, so he's a little bit too young right now, but in the future, I'll definitely be pushing him to be, more STEM toys, more STEM activities, because I think this is great for the brain, right? So you have the STEM field, which I think is very interesting. Now, I will mention that I would recommend that you have some sort of interest, because science can obviously be very technical, and you have to know what you're talking about. Having at least some interest in the niche, but then also maybe some expertise in the niche, right, is definitely going to be a huge advantage. Or if you're hiring a writer, making sure they at least have some sort of expertise. I will mention that, right? So I would say this is maybe could be a little bit more complicated if you're just looking for just a simple site. Maybe this one's not it, just as a little bit of a side note. But if you're interested in science or want to pursue this a little bit more, this could definitely be a great option. But again, this is a bit of a side part of the community, which I think is great, not only for adults. So there's a lot of people that are interested or need help with, courses in college and all this stuff related to STEM degrees and so on, but also for kids. STEM toys is very big. You can do a quick check in Ahrefs for just STEM for kids, do expand on that for keywords. So there's kind of that angle as well, not just about chemistry and labs and stuff, but actual STEM toys. So going from there, what I did is I just Googled a couple relevant keywords basically to the actual topic, and I found a couple, it was like best scientific calculator, something like this. Anyways, but what I did is I found some of the competitors. So moving on from there, and I just grabbed some of the lower DR competitors just to give you some perspective. So again, I have some 3 here, which is DR11, DR28, and DR17, right? And again, like I mentioned before, we're at DR29. And also, like I said, I would almost bet you that our DR, this is what I was referring to before, I would almost guarantee that our DR of 29 is going to be much better than their DR of 28 just because of the overall quality of the backlinks. I could actually just verify that. One sec, let me check. So this is exactly what I mean. What I have here is techie scientist. Sorry if this is your site. If you're on Odys, I apologize. We'll just go through here real quick. I'm not saying all the links are garbage, right? There's definitely got some good backlinks and all the rest of it. We'll just do like a quick comparison because this is something that I see a lot of people getting hung up on basically, is if we look at the backlink profile, right? Just take away the name completely. But if we take away like Nature, obviously these are going to be, we know these sites, right? The science.org is obviously going to be phenomenal backlink. But this is where some people get hung up essentially. So if you actually look at the outbound links, if you were to consider like what's going to be harder to get a backlink from, a site that's already linked out, do follow links to 276,000 sites, is this going to be a harder backlink? Or this one here, which has kind of comparable, so for example here, comparable metrics, which is DR92, 6.9 million traffic, DR91, 1.6 million traffic, right? So obviously more traffic as well. But this one is only linked out to 39,000 in terms of do follow backlinks, only linked out 39,000 times. So the value of this one therefore becomes much better, right? It's much harder to get a link from this one as well. So, and again, that's just one example. But for example, another one here, if you look at, for example, you might think, oh, it's got a DR, 82 site, but actually this is more of like a spam. Sometimes it could be directories. Even though it's a do follow link, it's much lower quality, right? Because also it only has 126,000 traffic. So when you're analyzing backlinks, this is something that you have to take into consideration, right? Not all backlinks are created equal. Not all do follow backlinks are created equal. You have to go a little bit more above and beyond just the standard DR, DR 82 or DR. This is kind of irrelevant in a lot of these situations. Here you have it's linked out to 642,000 sites. So obviously this is more. It's not a very. It doesn't mean as much basically, right? So scarcity is true here in backlinks basically. So the harder generally speaking, the higher quality the link, the harder it is to get featured or mentioned there. Then the more it's going to be. It's going to be more valued, right? It's going to have a better impact basically. So just consider that, right? If we're just doing apples to apples, like domain DR28 to DR29 here. That's why I bring this up. But anyways, a little side tangent on backlinks. Hopefully you learned something there. Now moving on from there, basically we look at some of the competitors. So let's just open up this gentleman here as an example. So obviously just doing a comparison, if you have a DR29 and they have a DR17, DR28, and DR11, you can beat them on the DR level. We already talked about how good the backlinks are. They're getting 103,000 traffic in Ahrefs, 82,000 and 61,000. So this is some pretty low hanging fruit, I would say. Now, the quality of this traffic might not be as good, but it's still traffic. You can make money with ads, maybe not going to be the most money, but you can make money. It's kind of an easy path to profitability essentially, or easy path to monetization. But if we just open up to some of the competitors and we just see what are they, talking about, what are they ranking, what are they talking about, what are they ranking essentially? Let's actually do the other competitor. We already talked about tech. Let's do this one here. Sorry, I probably already have them open, but anyways, bear with me here. So we get to see it's all about science and molecules and all this fun stuff, right? And these kinds of keywords, these really odd keywords are basically endless, right? So. But anyways, let's just open him up again. Him, she, he, they, them, their. I don't know their pronouns. My apologies. Let's go to the keywords here. Give it a sec. So, he's just targeting a lot of pretty easy keywords in my opinion, right? A lot of really random stuff about geometry, molecules and structures and all this sort of stuff. So it's easy, I would say, super easy, low KD. He's a low, Now I'll come back to the downside of this in a second, in a couple of minutes when I kind of summarize this video. But it's easy traffic in my opinion, right? Easy starting point. But if we want to filter, like these are mostly informational queries, of course, right? Is this or that, or this versus that? Unless he's actually promoting products, but in this situation he's not, or they are not, I should say. It's just talking about the differences in the actual term itself. But if we want to see, are they doing any affiliate keywords? Try best. Now we can have a quick look here. What are they doing for affiliate keywords? And I would say these are going to be easy affiliate keywords, right? So so some more ideas here for, this is where it goes down to monetization. I'll cover monetization a little bit more, but you can just see how I get there basically. So Amazon, most of these products are probably going to do much better on Amazon as opposed to non-Amazon affiliates. because most people that are looking for a calculator are probably going to be shopping on Amazon. The conversion rate is probably going to be better, although the commission is going to be less, right? So here's some ideas. Now, nothing overly impressive, but again, it's a low competition. In my opinion, this could be easy money. So best lab goggles, and this is just like the initials check. I just spent 5 minutes here. You could expand on this much more, right? So, best books. So books could be an option, right? Best, all these different products, right? So these are all affiliate keywords, basically. Chemistry, textbooks, all this sort of stuff. So there's some options there in terms of competitors. And if you wanted to expand on that further, what you would do then is just go to the actual in Ahrefs or whatever on-page tool you're using, or SEO tool you're using, just go to organic competitors, and this is going to give you a list essentially. So that's how I found these other 3 competitors pretty easily, just by finding one low DR site and then going in there and then finding the list of the other lower DR sites. So you can keep expanding on this as well. So what you can do, an option if you're starting a new site, just go ahead and hit export and then do all the in terms of like actual content strategies. So if you want to focus on like lower DR sites, just do DR under 20 because your DR which is close to 30. So you're going to be able to beat them on a domain level basically, right? Export all their best keywords, and then so you could export, filter by lower DR, right? And then also higher traffic if you want. So for example, that's how I found these ones. So here's another example, DR11, 17,000. They might have some good keywords. DR11s, 52, 57,000, and just keep rinse and repeating. And if you find a new one, a lot of times what happens is there's going to be different overlaps. So you could find a new site here which is low DR. You could open this one up and do the competing domains gap again and just rinse and repeat until you have a huge list of potential keywords to focus on, and you could filter those. So that's kind of the overall. There's some competitors, but as you can see, there's definitely some lower competition keywords, lower DR sites that are still getting high traffic, and I'll cover this a little bit more. So how would I approach the content plan? This is going to be up to you basically. If you want like the quick and dirty method, then I say quick and dirty, but it's like not a lot of finesse basically. You essentially just go in, grab all the low DR sites, basically like I mentioned here. So grab all DR under say 20, export them to a list. Then what you do is export all their keywords, create a big like master file. Then you can use a tool like Keyword Cupid, which is going to then cluster all the tools together. And then that's going to give you, so you might end up with a list of 10,000, but of those keywords, there's going to be many that belong to the same page. So the tool Keyword Cupid is going to put those together. And then you're going to know like, okay, how these keywords are getting grouped. And you're going to have to pay a little bit of money, but it's a much faster way to filter through all the keywords. And then you could start writing essentially. You could take this down one step further by prioritizing. If you look at the SERPs, like so the top 10 results, figure out which have multiple under DR20, right? So you take out the outliers essentially, and then you can just start spamming it with ChatGPT content if you want to do that. I had a note here about using ChatGPT to link. I like to use ChatGPT for actually creating categories to figure out, like, if you're not sure how to categorize them one step further, actually creating the categories, you can just ask ChatGPT to group the topics that you're considering writing about. How do you group these topics so they're semantically relevant? And then that kind of becomes your categories, and it also can help you with internal linking and so on if you need a little extra help. So that would be kind of the quick and dirty method, right? And then you could use ChatGPT because a lot of this is info. It's pretty easy to recreate, especially using ChatGPT. So that's what I would say is like the quick and dirty method. If you wanted to take this, and I'll kind of cover like the drawbacks of that, and then also some additional options as well, because I want to give you something more to work with other than the quick and dirty method. So there's pros and cons to obviously doing this. Is that how much traffic are you really going to get from this? How much is actually easily answered on the snippets, basically? Like, is there going to be a lot of time on page for these particular queries, or is it like a quick question and answer? Is it going to get taken over by more snippets? Is Google SGE, when they announce this more, are they going to eat up these kinds of keywords that are very simple to answer? So that's something to consider. Right now, do you want to just do that for now? That's kind of an approach I'm taking. Like, it's working right now. I'm still making money from it. It's still profitable, so I'll do it. But also in the back of my mind, I understand that maybe we should be doing other keywords as well. So mixing that in. So that's one of the things that I would say, right? Just consider that with the strategy. It's easy now. How long it's going to last, I don't know, but it's an easy way to make money. Another thing with these types of keywords is generally they're going to be paying less, right? So kind of simple queries are going to have lower RPM, but it's also going to have lower time on page and all that stuff. So the metrics are going to be less. So ads is not going to pay as much, although it's going to pay something. So that's kind of one of the downsides that I would say. So in terms of content, if you want to do that method, then that's fine. And then while exploring other methods, right, that's another option as well. Or if you want to take more of a precise approach, what I would say is do some more research into non-Amazon affiliates. So basically I have an option here, like you can just do, you could check out this guide here by Matt Diggity, basically best affiliate programs for education. And then an option which I think is a good one, whoops, I closed it by accident, my apologies. So if you open this up basically, right, you'll see that one of the ones that he mentioned, now I would go through all of these and just figure out what is relevant to, like what I would build a site around what are the best affiliate programs first. You know, if you wanted to take more of like a targeted approach instead of doing just like lots of content, if you want to be more specific, find kind of the best affiliate programs and then build your content strategy around the best affiliate programs. So that's going to impact, you know, your supporting content and so on, right? So it just depends how you want to do it. If you want to start with the quick and dirty method and then explore this, that's also an option, right? It just depends on your budget, your timeline, your expertise, what you like to do. Me personally, I also don't have a lot of attention span. I'd rather just spam content and call it a day and move on to the next site, you know, to be quite honest, instead of, I don't like to be so tedious with specific programs sometimes and spend a lot of time mucking around, right? Because not all programs are going to convert the same as well. But I give you options, basically. I give you options. So here, one of the ones that I did notice for sure was the Princeton Review. So actually, Princeton Review has, for people that are trying to pass their chemistry exam, I believe it is, you can just do some quick Google research on that. They have a test prep for that. So this kind of ties into the monetization. You could go more the adult route, which is going to be more for like adults, like test prep, that sort of stuff that need help with science, that need help with chemistry and so on. So this could be another option as well. And then, you know, potentially like tutoring, test prep, exam prep, all that sort of stuff. And as an example here for the Princeton Review, which I know they have a chemistry course or chemistry prep, for example, to give you an idea, and it is on Matt Diggity's Best Affiliate Programs for Education. It's 8% per sale, 45-day cookie. And then on top of that, he mentions here that the typical order value is around $1,000. So it's $80 per successful referral. So that's a pretty good option. And that's just one that I found in a few minutes. You could expand on this much further by spending a little bit more time and finding more affiliate programs and then building your content strategy around there. So that's kind of up to you. So again, you can still monetize that with ads. Once you get it to, say, for example, you could start with the Zoic. Once you get it to 50,000 visitors, you can apply for Mediavine, and then 100,000, then, you know, it's basically Raptive. Amazon affiliate for these easy products, like the best goggles for chemistry lab or whatever, right? You have those Amazon affiliate keywords. Info products is another angle. If you have a particular course, like if you're interested in science and you feel that you could teach somebody how to pass an exam, you could do an info product for that, right? There's also potential like SaaS products for kids if they're looking for like online learning platforms to help improve, like more relevant to STEM. That's an option as well for monetization. And then non-Amazon, which is what I talked about right here. This is just one example, right? It's like the kind of the test prep and so on. So you can do a little bit more research around that if you're interested in it, basically. So a couple of different options there. Just to summarize real quick, you could do basically, and you could do all of them. It's not, you don't have to exclusively do one or the other, but I would definitely focus maybe more on one just to build the content structure and silo around that first, and then expand out from there. Once you're ranking well, then slowly expand out. So maybe if you're going to focus on kids, do more kids. If you're going to focus on adults, do more adults. If you're going to focus more on just kind of these general terms, then like the actual the molecules and so on, then focus there, and then pick another direction, basically. Instead of doing like best STEM for kids on one article, then like what is this on another, like just be a little bit more focused. And again, if you have any questions about that, I'm more than happy to book a quick call with me. We can discuss that further if you'd like. So the drawbacks, again, what I mentioned here is just keep in mind, and I didn't mention this, is when you go through the referring domains, just make sure that you're recreating these pages. So for example, this nice link from science.org is going to an inner page, right? So make sure that you recreate this inner page. Just make sure that you fully capture this link juice, basically. So that's one of the drawbacks. It's not a huge deal. Just make sure that you go through and recreate all the pages that have links pointing to them. That's one thing. And then one of the mentions that I made here was that, like, to go do all the ads and all this stuff, it's going to probably pay a little bit less than even normal. Like, I know a lot of people say like, oh, ads don't pay that much, but this is probably going to be even less than that. So I would expect a little bit of a lower RPM just because the queries are quite kind of simple to answer, unless you can find some more complex queries, which are not the ones that I discussed here. So just consider that in terms of the actual drawbacks. So if you have any more questions about the domain, I hope I covered a lot here. Hopefully it was valuable. Hopefully you learned something new. Feel free to book a call with me, and That's it. Yeah, book a call. We can further discuss this one, or go ahead and click the buy button, and then we could set up a consultation after that if you have any additional ones. Thanks. I appreciate the time. Thank you.